So everybody, I did it. I went and I saw Thor Love and Thunder, or like Thor Loathing and Tiresome, but I saw it, and I've got the review for everyone here. Yes, it's going to be spoiler. I'm going to spoiler warning here, but honestly, you should really be thanking me at this point because you really don't want to waste your time and energy with this one. So I'm letting you know off the bat exactly what it is, and at the end, you'll understand why I say what I say. Now, to be fair, the first 3 minutes of this movie actually makes you hopeful. It really actually makes you a little hopeful because it starts off, you see, Gore is on this, well, on his home world, and it's a barren world. He has his daughter with him. His daughter is called Love. We'll get to that at the end, don't worry. Right? His daughter is called Love, and she's just died because there's no water or anything to drink. So you actually you're actually seeing a little hopefulness there because here he is with his daughter, and you see like the blisters and thing on her face and one after the other, and then he has to bury her, and it's so you think it is about okay, if the rest of the movie continues on like this, there is a possibility. Well, no, those 3 minutes are literally the only part in this movie that makes any sense whatsoever. After that, it just descends into a total crap fest. It's like anything that could have been serious in this movie, they just decided, well, you know what? It's not important anymore. Let's throw that out the door and throw in some kind of ridiculous comedy fest that doesn't make any kind of sense at all. Literally any. Now, I will say this. As I said, Gore and his daughter and all this, that scene was good. But had they look, especially Gore, looked a little more alien, a little more like the way he's supposed to look in the comics, it would have worked for what they wanted to do with this. It would have worked for the movie, but the movie overall was awful. But it would have worked, and I will tell you why. But let me go through this one piece by piece and try and explain to you what it is happening, who do what and what not. Now, after that, as I say, it just goes downhill, no common sense, because then Gore ends up finding this kind of oasis on his planet there, and he starts, eating some of the food and drinking, and then lo and behold, the very god that he worships is there, right? And the god is like, oh, oh, it's one of mine, and thing, and sitting around and fun, and he's all, but he worships him all the time, and this and that. And here the stupid part, he's thinking the god is an arrogant jackass, and he's about how he just killed some creature that wields the necro sword that could kill literally gods. You understand me? And you wouldn't think to yourself, well, okay, I just killed this thing that is wielding a weapon that could murder gods. Perhaps I should seal it away, destroy it, get rid of it, something. No, it's lying right next to the body of the person you just killed who was wielding it. And you're sitting there having a party with some other, like, some other kind of godly things or some kind of fairy, whatever the hell kind of spirits or whatever. And you're sitting there relaxing, having a good time, and berating one of your followers who's come to you, and you're about oh you don't care, and mortals only job is to die. So Gore rejects him, and then he decides himself, well, okay, I'm going to choke you to death now. While that's happening, the Necro Sword, of course, that he could have destroyed, calls out to Gore. He gets the sword, kills the god, and then he's like, oh, all gods must die. It's so freaking lazy and ridiculous. It doesn't even make sense, and that's not even the worst of it. It just keeps going downhill from there. Next, we see Thor. I mean, okay, well, Korg, the kind of stone-looking thing, constantly narrates through this movie. Every time he's talking about oh, the legend of the space Viking. We tell you about Thor and all of this, and then the legend of this, and it get to the point where it was so bloody annoying. I was actually happy when he was supposedly killed. I was like, okay, thank God it's going to stop right there. No, turns out he's not dead. His face is still alive for some freaking reason, and that's how we go with that there. You understand me? We'll go through the members at this crap fest. Then we have Thor. Okay, Thor is with the Guardians of the Galaxy. They end up having to fight off some things on this planet, and the battle is just stupid and ridiculous. It's like a badly put together comedy fest that is uninteresting. Luckily, the Guardians are only there for like about 5 minutes in the movie. Understand me? And they actually weren't bad. Nebula was interesting. She's still angry and all that kind of thing. Star Lord was just he seemed kind of wishy washy to me. But then, okay, they get messages from across the universe that gods are being killed, and then Thor sees Sif, and she's asking for help. So he goes off to save her on his own, parting with the Guardians. But the planet that they were all going to save these people, they gift Thor these two giant goats that would not stop screaming. The entire movie, that's all them goats was doing. I'm telling you, if God, the God butcher wanted to kill something, he did kill them goats and done. Honestly, I would have made so much sense, but them goats wouldn't shut up. So Thor goes off, finds Sif, who's lost an arm, and she tries to warn him about Gore, but then he tells her about needs to get her some help, and she's no, let me die on the battlefield and go to Valhalla. And he's like, well, Sif, actually you only go to Valhalla when you die in battle. The battle's over and you're not dead, so you won't go. And she's like, oh, and it's like every time they attempt to do something, like pretend it have some kind of actual, seriousness to the movie, like they will try it for 5 seconds and then bam, some stupid joke. Every time. It's like 1 second serious, 2 seconds serious, 3 seconds serious, 4 seconds serious, bam, joke. And the jokes make no sense, they're not reasonable, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that's that. Let's move on to Jane Foster. Now, Natalie Portman is a good actress. They have good actors and actresses in this movie, severely underused and not probably done at all. Now, Natalie Portman, as I say, good actress. I think she's won an Oscar or that kind of thing. No problem with it. No problem with it. They set up early that okay, she has cancer, stage 4 cancer. Now, and she's undergoing chemo. Her hair hasn't fallen out at all. She looks pretty damn good for somebody who has stage 4 cancer. Honestly, I mean, they try a little thing with the makeup to make it look like she's a little weak and thing, but honestly, she looked better than most people who will work whole week. And okay, so she's trying to, and then all of a sudden, she gets some inspiration to find Mjolnir because it could grant health and well-being. So she goes to New Asgard, and the pieces of Mjolnir that I will get to. I'll get to a second, but why this makes no sense. Suddenly start reacting. So we never find out. But the next time we see her, she's Thor. We never find out why the hammer chose her. She's wording that they try to make some reference that in the movie that apparently Thor made some kind of wish on the hammer to always protect her, something like that. But it makes no freaking sense because the entire process makes no sense. Because in the last movie, Odin pretty much established that Thor was only channeling his power through the hammer. So the hammer is just a conduit for his power. So if the hammer got shattered, he could have reforged it whenever he wanted. He has the power to do it, but apparently, they could care less about that. Honestly. Thor in this movie is just reduced to the biggest clown you will ever see. The majority of the movie is spent with him acting like, Stormbreaker is his new girlfriend and Mjolnir is his ex-girlfriend that is now in the hands of his other ex-girlfriend, and constantly constantly treating Stormbreaker and Mjolnir like they're actual people and oh, don't be jealous and this, and you're like, what the flick is really going on here? What is really going on here? It makes no bloody sense. Speaking of making no bloody sense, you would think with all the build-up to this movie constantly beat, and the last video I did before this movie was how they constantly talking about how Valkyrie and she's sexuality and Valkyrie and that. Me tell you one time, Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie in this movie made absolutely no sense whatsoever. She was completely useless. Completely useless. Had she not even been in this movie, nothing would be lost. Absolutely nothing. They just keep trying to force it like, she's somehow important, but she really isn't. She really isn't. And of course, they have to push the gay factor. They have to push that gay factor. Because, I'll tell you exactly how they have to put it. They make reference in the movie that apparently Korg has two dads. Apparently his species, two males, does come together, go into some lava cave or something, and then a little offspring is born like that, and then have this. Then Korg is telling Valkyrie, but maybe she's still upset that her girlfriend died along kind of thing and she doesn't want life. And I'm like, what the? But they tell you how wrong and stupid this was, because I'm in the cinema watching it, and there's this family. There was some like children about probably about, let me say 8 years old, and this scene I'm talking about with Korg and his dad and all kind of thing is going on, and I actually hear one of the children ask their father, "Daddy, what's that about?" And the father actually says to them, they're just joking. I had to shake my head like, what's the point of this even being in this movie? Why? It makes no sense. It has no reason to be there, but you just need to put it in so you could say, well, okay, we check this box for today. Absolutely flicking ridiculous and stupid. Well, let's move on to gore. Now, again, as I say, Christian Bale is a good actor. Another A-class actor in this movie, totally underutilized. We never actually see Gore butcher any of these gods, even though he's called Gore the God Butcher. We never see it. We also never get any kind of actual background on the Necrosword. We only find out that the Necrosword could kill gods. That's it. It would have been so interesting, and this is the part I'm talking about, had they actually gone with his original design. Because he's weak and small and thin at the beginning because, he's on a planet where it's basically a drought and dried up and all of this. So, okay, once he gets the Necrosword now, it would have been cool to actually see him grow bigger and stronger, and then you would have had him be even more intimidating than he actually is. But what happens in this movie is that God just turns out to be a creepy little freak who shows up coming out of shadows, creating shadow monsters, walking around with this white thing that look like a kind of sari on, wanting to kill the gods. But there's no context for it. Literally no context for it. And speaking of no context for it, when Thor decides to gather up his crew of, Thor, Korg, Valkyrie, who has no reason to be there whatsoever, and, Lady Thor, they decide to travel to Omnipotent City, which is the city where all these gods are there and gathered and all kind of thing. You see a whole bunch of different gods and all kind of stuff. There's even this anime-looking thing that is supposed to be the god of dumplings. It's so stupid, honestly, so bloody stupid. But this is the theme of this show. Everything is a damn joke. It makes no sense. So they get there, and then we have Zeus, played by Russell Crowe. And I don't mean Russell Crowe Gladiator as Zeus. This is more like Russell Crowe as Super Mario Bros. Kind of Zeus. It's ridiculous. They have Zeus in a literal skirt. And you run along the stairs and all sorts of stuff. They even do this thing where he snaps his fingers and strips Thor naked, because that is perfectly okay. They will never do that with a woman, but it's perfectly okay for some kind of fan service thing. And then they have this thing because Thor wants to gather the gods to go and fight Gore, which actually would have been pretty cool to see all these gods coming after him, but you would need to build up Gore as more of a threat for that. But it would have been pretty damn cool to see Gore battling all these gods. No, they don't want to go because Zeus and the rest of them are more interested in the orgy that they're planning than actually going out to go. And Zeus actually admits that, he's afraid of Gore because Gore has the Necrosword and the Necrosword could kill gods. So they have this big fight that is a waste of time. He throws his bolt and supposedly kills Korg but doesn't. Thor, in a fit of anger, grabs the lightning bolt and impales Zeus with it. Valkyrie then goes and steals it, and they leave. So the entire incident at this omnipotent city was just a complete and utter waste of time. Now, when Gore attacked New Asgard, which is a waste of space in of itself, right? When he attacked New Asgard, he ended up kidnapping the children. And one of the children that he kidnapped was Heimdall's son, even though we apparently never knew Heimdall had a wife, a baby mama, and had child, nothing. You understand? All of a sudden, Heimdall have a son. And what is the best thing to do when his son tries to contact Thor? Have a literal 30-second waste of time thing about how Heimdall gave him this name, and he changed his name to Axel, and it's back and forth, but you name it this, no, name it that, name it this, name it that, name it that, and you're like, what the hell does any of that have to do with anything? Utter waste of time. So they want to save the children. They travel to the shadow realm, because apparently anything, and I mean, I don't understand why all these gods hanging around in the mortal realm, but anyway, so they travel to the shadow realm, and only to find out now it's all a trap, because, and listen to this clever plot twist. Listen to this clever plot twist. Gore wants to go to this place, to this entity called Eternity, who could, Eternity is this entity that lives at the center of the universe. Now, Eternity is an actual being in the Marvel comics, but it's an actual entity, living entity, all kind of stuff now, which makes more sense. But no, in this thing now, Eternity is some kind of entity that lives at the center of the universe, and anybody who makes it there, the first person to make it there, could make a wish, and that wish will be granted. So God wants to go there to literally wish away all gods, and he needs Stormbreaker to open the Bifrost to go there. What kind of sense that makes, I don't know, because Stormbreaker didn't even exist before this happened, but somehow now Stormbreaker is the conduit to opening it. And another point to the stupidness of this movie. If Eternity is this all-powerful being, and getting there you can make a wish, and the wish will be granted, and it'll be anything you want, why in God's name did Thanos have to go through the process of going after the Infinity Stones? Couldn't he have just gone to Eternity, made his wish, and bam, that would have been the end of it? But no, for some reason it seemed pretty sensible to just leave this there as some kind of plot twist that completely destroys everything that happened with the Infinity Stones. Absolute rubbish. So of course they make it into the Shadow Realm, waste that time battle, you know. It turns out Mjolnir is sucking the life energy out of Jane Foster. Surprise, nobody saw that coming. You understand me? Valkyrie gets stabbed, because that's another waste of time. Gore ends up getting Stormbreaker and decides to open up the portal. Thor takes them back to Earth, tells Jane Foster that, using Mjolnir is killing her, she needs to stop, and so he goes back alone with Zeus Thunderbolt now, and here the stupidness starts. So he goes to where they are, and then Thor passes on temporarily some of his powers to the children, and next thing you see, there's this whole child army attacking all these shadow monsters that God created. And you're sitting there thinking to yourself, are you for real with this shit? Are you really for real with this? I mean, to tell you how honestly bad this movie was, like halfway through it, people actually got up in the cinema and walked out. I'm telling you, people, I was sitting there, I actually hear people stoops, get up and walk out the cinema. There wasn't like droves of people, but some people actually got up and left. They couldn't take the nonsense anymore. I mean, you have children fighting off this thing, and then you have Thor putting on some kind of ridiculous little stupid fight with God. That was as ridiculous as everything else in this movie, because everything is a blasted joke in this movie. And when Thor starts to get a little too hit here and there, Jane Foster decides to, call back the power of Mjolnir and goes there, and she's fighting off. And then the one saving moment in this movie, Gore actually calls her Lady Thor, which I've referred to Jane Foster as many times too, right? Then she starts rambling all this crap about how she's Mighty Thor or Dr. Jane Foster. You don't even give a shit at that point, honestly. But once again, it's pretty useless because you see Thor trying to free Stormbreaker from this shadow thing grasp, and it's just stupid. But what ends up happening in the end? Gore opens up the door to eternity, goes in there, they go in after him, alright. And then Thor is all, it's over, Gore, you've won. I'm just gonna spend the last time here with the woman I love. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, attack me, man, protect something instead. And then he then tells him about how revenge is not what you want. What you really want is love. And so, surprise, surprise, what does God do? Use his wish from eternity to bring back his daughter, Love. Right? She comes back. But she comes back with the powers of eternity. Then Jane Foster dies, turns to sparkling dust and appears. Gordon tells Thor to take care of his daughter before he dies. Okay, fine. Now, as that happens, the children return to Asgard. You see Valkyrie and Sif training them, and Sif lost her arm. And in the beginning, we were talking about it, and then at the ending, now she still doesn't. I'm like, all this advanced technology you all have, so somebody can't give the woman a mechanical arm or something. I mean, Jesus Christ, Winter Soldier have one. So, how does this movie end now? Thor is now raising Gore's daughter, Law, right? And she there, and she still, like I said, she has the power of eternity, and she takes Mjolnir and colors up on it and then giving it lips and all that. Because remember, in the comics, they've established that Thor's hammer is female, so they easily alluding to that. After she has the breakfast and all kind of thing, Thor and this little child, he's holding Mjolnir. The little girl is holding Stormbreaker, and they go outside now to go and fight off something on some world. See two of them run out there, charging, leaping to the air, all kind of thing, and they talk about love and thunder. I'm like, what the freaking crap is this nonsense, boy? And then at the end of it now, the mid-credit scene, apparently Zeus didn't die, and he's all about how when did gods become jokes and people used to look at him. I'm like, okay, Thor came there to you all for help. You were more interested in an orgy than doing anything else, and now you're all pissed because mortals will learn to fear you again once Thor dies. And then all of a sudden he tells his son Hercules to go and kill him, and Hercules is all, yes, father, will be there. I'm like, anybody supposed to give a shit about this ridiculous plot point at this point? Anybody? After that now, and next post-credit scene, Jane Foster arrives at the gates of Valhalla. Heimdall welcomes her, and then that's it. Utter waste of a movie. This movie was so dull. This movie is literally Black Widow level bad. Honestly, Black Widow level bad. That's how bad it is. Black Widow level bad. I am struggling to even give this movie a 1. The only reason I would give this movie a 1 is because of the 3 minutes at the opening and the Lady Thor thing. That's it. But my final rating on this movie, 1 out of 5. Don't even waste your time. It's not worth it. Movie is terrible. I called it. I said it from the very beginning. I said this movie is going to be garbage. And there's only one, and the person I would blame for this is Taika Waititi, whatever the hell it is. This movie is crap. You should never make another Thor movie at all, because there was a time when MCU movies were good, they were serious, they had the little bits of humor here and there. Now everything has just descended into a total mess. You spent like 2 hours telling one giant comedy fest that nobody laughed at. I was just ridiculous. I mean, I had certain moments in it where people would chuckle, but the laughter would just die down after a while. People would just get discouraged. I'm telling you, people walked out of this movie. That's to tell you how bad it is. The movie is terrible. Absolutely, absolutely terrible. I would advise anybody not to go and see this. This thing is just shit. That is all. Best word to use. Just utter and absolute crap. I have no intention of ever watching this movie again. And if you haven't seen it yet, don't watch it. It's just nonsense. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you've seen the movie and you have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. If you like the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the notification bell. Be notified every time I put out a new video. And I shall see you all next time. Awful movie. Later.